This is me. I'm Lauren Ingram. I am actually now Dr. Lauren Ingram, but I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't help with that rash. And I don't even have a PhD. I got given an honorary doctorate last year for my work bringing more women into AI and emerging tech, because that's the thing that I'm really passionate about. But one of the things that makes money is my background as a marketer, and then thinking about how does that apply in the AI era. So like, how can brands get recommended by our robot mates? And actually, I would say the title is a tiny bit misleading by saying that it's all about the robots, because I'm actually going to start with quite a human story, because I think this helps set the scene for just the amount of change that is going on because of AI at the moment. So why I'm here? Why am I here? Because I want to sort of help you get ready for the amount of change that's happening, and actually maybe you're seeing already in your roles. Because I know it can feel quite overwhelming. And so I want to talk to you about how, when times have got tough for me, getting curious about what's going on and what that means for me and what's coming next has been what's helped me a lot and helped other people in the process. So it's me 5 years ago, having eaten a lot of mince pies. This is 5 years ago. So I think I look kind of tired in the photo, but what you don't see is the fact that I was also so scared because I was no longer in a job. I'd been working at Facebook for 2 years as a contractor and trying to go permanent. It was also the pandemic and massive headcount cuts, and it just lots of sort of flip-flopping. You remember the pandemic? It was just completely unpredictable as to what was going on with jobs. And so it was a bad time to find out that I was pregnant. Was at the end of my contract. So I was then unemployed, trying to apply for all these different jobs in tech, and I was like, yeah, sure, I can be a project manager or a marketing manager or all these different things. I was sort of trying too hard to be lots of different things, because I thought the only way forward was to have a permanent job. And so I was freelancing at this time actually, and I felt like it didn't count. I thought you had to have what my family calls a PJ, a proper job, in order to be allowed to have a baby. I could not see an alternative, and yet. A year later, that's me standing on this stage. That's what included the photo, is that I feel like that was actually quite a sort of pivotal moment for me, was speaking at Agency Nomics about my journey, which was going from sort of pregnant and unemployed through to I had got obsessed with what's coming next in tech. And so I learned about all things Web3, metaverse, blockchain. And actually, I don't always think that all of those were the right bet of a thing to kind of to go and learn about necessarily, but actually it kind of sent me in the right direction of, there's no way I would have left a permanent job at somewhere like Facebook to go and try to, do public speaking and run my own thing and run a community of women in this space. So I was doing things so that was with my 6-month-old at Snapchat's offices, running an event about getting more women into this area. And the same here, partnering with Charlotte Tilbury. I just had loads of really cool opportunities because I was in a shit situation to begin with. And so I just got curious and used that curiosity to kind of drive me forward. Actually, in fact, people also asked questions like, how did you have the courage to do these things? But actually, I felt like I really had nothing to lose, because I had sort of already experienced what felt like the worst thing, which is having no job at all and needing to provide for our young family. And so yeah, I got curious, and I forgot that was my next slide. I thought it was this one, which is basically when times get tough, I got obsessed with the future, and I would encourage you to do the same. But it was as a result of my talk on this stage, somebody in the audience recommended me to the TEDx organisers and put me forward for it. And so I then got to tell my story of my sort of almost zero to hero type story of feeling like I'd messed it all up, and then getting to, actually I'm also making it sound like I'm a single mum. We're in a happy relationship. We did actually want a kid, just I would never have planned to do it outside of what felt like the official lines of having a PJ, a proper job. So this is kind of my thinking for today, is getting obsessed with what comes next, because I know things can feel really overwhelming. And something else I didn't plan to talk about, and so I've changed all my slides, sent my slides yesterday to the team here. I don't know whether I should talk about this on stage. I think it's going to be a silly thing to talk about when it's so raw. just over 2 weeks ago, I had a miscarriage, and so I've been on a lot of codeine and been in a lot of pain, like physical pain as well as emotional pain. But the physical pain has like really fucking wiped me. Like yeah, it's been a very tough time again. So 5 years after my previous tough time. So that photo is actually of me learning to use a coding agent at an OpenAI event while basically high on codeine. So I was like doing codeine and codex. That's the reason I took a photo of it, because it entertained me. But again, just kind of the reason I wanted to go to this OpenAI event like 6 days after having a miscarriage was because I just felt like it's so important, and that I was just like, I would not miss this. I'm going to roll out of bed to come to this event because it's really important to me to learn what this stuff is. Also because I want to then share that with other women and sort of try and make sense of what's coming next, rather than just kind of letting it happen to me, or this stuff happen to us, because I think it's important. So this is me bedridden and trying to work out how to. These are like sort of real screenshots in the last week or two of like, sorry, cringy, but like work music for serious grind. I found on YouTube was helping me out a lot. I need help getting started. I want to build a website. Learning about how to start a Substack and like whether that charges you, Stripe fees, I just went mad on using AI tools, which I do know how to use AI tools anyway, but I felt like I really pushed my learned how to use Claude Design, instantly ran out of credits. I feel like I've made so many mistakes in the last week or two, but it's been this amazing experience. And when I say mistakes, there's stuff like me saying to Claude Design, I'm sorry, I hate it. Like they were just, honestly, I feel like I've just been like arguing with Claude and ChatGPT. My two friends, I've fallen out with them deeply in the last couple of weeks, and then kind of got to a good place. Rebranded the Women in AI community that I've been running, called it AI Girl Gang, and branded it all kind of 90s, early noughties, because for me, as an elder millennial, that was sort of year 2000-ish was for me like this sort of golden era of using the internet. That's also like when I had a Tamagotchi and sort of playing The Sims after school and writing down my cheat codes in my fluffy notebook. And I appreciate those are not online actually, Tamagotchi and ditto my Game Boy, but it was a really exciting time to be on the internet, and it just felt like you could just kind of experiment, play with stuff. Obviously very slow load times, but you could, just not be particularly fearful and just kind of embracing this new technology without questioning it too much. It was just quite exciting, and I wanted to emulate that now because there is so much emotion around AI at the moment that I want to kind of create this, like slightly more safe, exciting way in to get especially women comfortable with using AI. And so I appreciate that my talk isn't about women in AI, but like it's its own whole other issue. So you're probably wondering, so what's this got to do with why we are here today to learn about robots and retail? And that's because we are now, if everything before was about optimizing for eyeballs, human eyeballs, now we need to be thinking about robot eyeballs, and that can feel quite disconcerting to. There is a slightly feeling that we, had the rug ripped out from underneath us of like, we thought we knew how to sell things on the internet, I think AI and how powerful it is and how much change there is has really taken people by surprise. And so I feel like they need a kind of steady hand. And actually I feel like too much of the information about AI is like purely information and education. And actually what we want is like somebody to speak a bit more sense and be like, yeah, it's okay, humans are not meant for this much change. Here's how to sort of just get going, and then you can sort of start gaining some more momentum. So this was me a couple of years ago saying that I feel that this is what's coming for marketing. Why not falling off the stage? I try and read this. So getting AI tools to recommend your business. So the equivalent of gaming the search algorithm with SEO, but instead of Google search, it's ChatGPT or Google Bard spitting out the answers. So you can tell that's slightly old. And also not that many interactions, so I think people didn't really give a shit at that point. A couple of years ago, and it took me a long time to actually get people to in some way take it seriously, because I'm not from an SEO background, I'm a brand marketer, but I do really feel like there's something really significant in this, and again, compared to a year ago when I was giving some talks like this, I feel like people can probably better understand the opportunity now because like everyone in the room our behaviour has changed, that if you were looking to buy a new moisturiser for dry skin and you're in your 40s, whatever it is, you'd probably turn to AI for something like that now in a way that might not have been the case a year or two ago as like your sort of first port of call. And I know it can feel like a lot. And this is what my LinkedIn feed feels like. This is what my internet feels like, is just this like wall of noise about change and needing to adapt. And like, right now this is the case, right, 2 days later, there's a new product update. I just said something I've been talking about recently, and sorry, this is like a side note, but it entertains me. I see AI as a big dick competition. I think that's another reason I think women are slightly less interested to participate, is that there's just like constant product updates and like tokens and rules and models, and like, I don't care. I don't care about tokens. I don't care about context windows. I care about what you can do with AI and like, what does that mean for marketing? What does that mean for brands? What does it mean for humans? So there is this an enormous amount of change coming. I've also realised I was looking at the, I don't know how much time I've got because it looks like we've got, oh, there we go. That's how much time I've got. Sorry, two different numbers. So there's enormous amounts of change is coming. And so I would encourage you to embrace the change, because I know it can feel really scary. So thinking about that, so how does that start applying? Because this number is from last year, so I know this number has gone up. I haven't got a sort of a 2026 equivalent yet, but basically about half of shoppers are using AI as they start getting going in search. It varies slightly when you look at age range as to who's more confident using AI to start their shopping. And obviously you've got people from anywhere from just kind of thinking some initial questions about like, I don't know, like random thoughts about lawnmowers and chargers and things like that, through to actually being like ready to purchase right now. And AI knows how ready or not we are to purchase. So we're sort of seeing a real like collapse in the funnel, and also this weird black box thing of like, we don't know how AI knows any of these things. We don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Whereas we do have we have had years and years of conversations with Google, for example, about the SEO side of things. So I would encourage you to get inside the mind of the robots and be thinking about why might they recommend certain brands over another when you're thinking in an organic sense. I know it doesn't get called organic, but that's how I would see it, as of organic versus paid. So we're talking about GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, or AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, or any other stupid acronyms. I don't know who comes up with this stuff because it makes it sound really boring, and I think it's really interesting. That, again, I do still think 2 years later that it really is like the next frontier for marketing. And so if you are looking at moisturiser for dry skin in your 40s, if before we had to sort of go down the rabbit hole of like looking through multiple links, like some kind of idiot having to look through these links yourself rather than having an AI summarize it for you, this is such a big shift in consumer behaviour, is that there's now an opportunity to appear in a sort of synthesized, super personalized answer where all of these brands might get put together that is super specific to you, and including stuff like your search history and everything. And I think that's a really interesting opportunity. And so we need to sort of try and work out how to reverse engineer that. How do we game that system? And also, side note, anyone that says they're a GEO expert is probably lying. Everyone is learning it as they go. So like the data that I'm seeing out there is not to say the data isn't true. It's just that the technology is so new and changing so quickly, nobody can possibly know everything. So also anyone that works in this space, including me, probably has massive imposter syndrome about it, because it feels like you need to know everything and you cannot know everything about something so new. I'm going to give you a really, really brief, like I know you know how AI works, but just like a worked example where ChatGPT made me spend £89 was last year. My 4-year-old, I was like, okay, he can't fit in a little car seat anymore, sort of like toddler car seat, so he needs a bigger one. So I just said, car seats for 4+ years. I want to see a very safe car seat with lots of good reviews. That's all I asked, and it basically just provided with me these two, plus a list with a little table, but it mainly suggested these two instantly, with links through to them. So I dug a little bit deeper and wanted to know what the sources were. Why was it pulling in these two, or like this set of car seats? And so it's using things like Reddit that it leans heavily on, review websites like Expert Reviews. It's also quite reliant on press. That's particularly important, actually. I spoke at a PR event last night, and I think a lot of PRs and journalists in the room were feeling quite relieved that press is still so relevant in an AI era. But so my follow-up question is there a big benefit to spending £100 more on the one that was, I think, on the left? Because I was thinking, I'm willing to spend more money if it means my little boy is more likely to be safe in a car accident, but other than that, I don't give a shit about the brand. I do not care about car seat brands, and I want something to do the work for me of like finding the right answer. So it gave me this comparison. I'm just looking for trust signals, and so the verdict was, basically coming back to those two, and for me that wasn't a meaningful distinction between like why spend £100 on one or the other. So I bought this. I spent £89 because ChatGPT told me to. So I do see this moment as, I would see it as like your golden ticket, your golden opportunity to be testing and learning and thinking about how do we make brands visible to the robots? Like what do the robots care about, and how can we sort of better cater to that? Because nobody's got it all correct yet. So how do we drive robot word of mouth so they talk to each other, talk to their humans about us, aka AI visibility? This is the framework that I've got to at the moment. I would actually say it is quite skewed by ChatGPT and like how you can sort of game things for that. And obviously Claude, I've been a user of Claude for a while, but it just feels like the last sort of 2 or 3 months is obviously when it's kind of gone bananas. And so I think that this framework will actually shift slightly according to those two main platforms of like you play a bit differently to each. But to tell you what I mean by each of these things, being specific, as marketers, obviously we know who we are and what we do, but I think we sometimes end up assuming that customers and now robots, in theory, they know what we do, but actually we sometimes need to still explicitly state that, whether it's on our websites or social channels, getting really, really clear. Because I mean, I think also, especially if you look at something like agencies, actually, I think agencies are improving on this, but certainly a few years ago, if you looked at like any type of agency, any digital agency, creative media, anything, it was impossible to know that it's an agency just by looking at the website. Like you just have to, impossible to know that it was actually an agency or what it is that they do to make money. I think that's still the case actually when you look at a lot of websites of today, is that if you've never heard of that brand before, like why would you know what it is? It's completely confusing. Being uniquely valuable or being unique, and what I mean by that is things like slightly editorializing your content with things like gift guides or interactive tools or reports, if you can do like white papers and reports, anything like that. Things that your competitors are not also writing exactly the same thing, that you've got something unique to you, AI will start relying on that. I am slightly running out of time as well. Credibility, this is a huge one that, I mean, in a way you could do basically the whole talk on just on this section, is when thinking about what AI likes to surface, it does love press, especially premium press. It does tend to skew slightly more American in terms of how information is ranked, because when you look at who OpenAI and Anthropic, the owners of ChatGPT and Claude, who they partner with is bigger American organizations. That's where they've got the biggest partnerships with. If you can get into some industry press for your niche, then even better, or sorry, just as good. UGC, Reddit is a massive one. It's between 1% and 8% of AI results are that lean on Reddit as a source. If you think of humans as almost like the sort of vetting layer of like a human has said, I like this product or I hate this product or whatever it is, that gets fed into AI as being the truth because it's a human that decided that. Fun media is what I would call things like podcasts, because if you think about it, especially something like YouTube, where you have transcripts within the video itself, like available right there for AI to pull on, it doesn't need to do the work of trying to like work out what the video is about because it's got the transcript right there. So especially if you use Google AI overviews or Google AI mode or Gemini, it will lean heavily on YouTube. And then finally, social media. And again, don't forget that large language models that we're talking about are still so reliant on text. So anything you can be doing to sort of feed the beast through your captions, your transcripts, anything, and sort of trying to structure that information as well, which I'll come on to. I have 6 seconds left, so I'm going to be speedy on this one. Being human, speaking like a human. I know as marketers we sometimes can get quite lofty and conceptual. AI has a harder job of making sense of our weird conceptual language. So just get really specific. Imagine you're speaking to a really literal friend. Being brand-led, so things like rather than saying, we offer this, we do that, we do the other, putting the name of your brand or your product at the beginning of a sentence helps, because again, AI doesn't need to do the work. It will just like lift full sentences and plot them places. Being informative with things like FAQs. So I feel like FAQs and blogs, I feel like we're sort of harking back to, there's a bit of a throwback to be saying that blogs are now where it's at, but actually if you can be putting stuff out, AI, yeah, you're feeding the beast, AI likes it. Being new, if you can sort of show that you are, that your business is alive and kicking with things like regular news, blog posts, changing content, again, that's sort of surfaces your work to AI. Being structured, so going from dense text to shoot through to almost like LinkedIn style broetry. If you can be sort of structuring information so it's really clear, what's a heading, what's body text. Almost like imagine you were structuring an email to, I appreciate there might be CEOs in the room as well, but imagine you're speaking to an executive where you just need to surface the most relevant information. You put like the relevant stuff in bold, you put stuff really big if you want them to sign it off. That's how you'd be thinking of like how you speak to AI. And so going back to being specific, unique, credible, human, brand-led, informative, new, and structured. I was hoping that it might spell a nice word like business, but it spells such bins. So that is my such bins framework for getting visible to AI. That's my boring sales page of places that I've spoken or partnered with or been featured in press, which, as it turns out, accidentally is really good for AI because it's been over the last few years, so it was not intentional in that sense. But just to remind you that if you are feeling the overwhelm of this noise, about all of the noise by AI and find it impossible to keep up, then it's just time to get curious. Thank you.